while obviously valuations in the mid-cap and small-cap space has become very, very expensive, and, getting newer themes and newer ideas has become tougher by the day. I think two things that we have done. First is, we have essentially moved more towards quality, right? So we have ensured that at a time like this where valuation is expensive pretty much across the board now, we really dial up on quality filters so that in case if there's any drawdown, quality will end up outperforming the non-quality names. The second thing that we've also done is we've looking out for some of the newer themes and newer ideation, which is always playing out of the economy, right? So there are a lot of themes which are, playing out in the economy at all points of time, whether it's a bull market or a bear market. And essentially our job is to find them out. So for example, one big theme that we have been recently working on is this whole mobile component manufacturing theme, which has two parts. One is, manufacturing of mobile component for a lot of the Indian companies and Chinese companies where they're doing assembly work today. And the second part is this whole Apple ecosystem, where we believe Apple sourcing from India is meaningfully likely to go up in the next 2 to 3 years. And which other companies who will benefit out of that is something where we have been doing a lot of work, given the size of scale and the kind of opportunity that it offers. And we are pre-positioned, to play that theme. So we have to find some of these newer themes before the curve and, be positioned in the cycle for that. So these are, I think, the two things that we are trying to do, dial up the quality and find some of the new innovative themes as such. Two things, right? Few factors which we really look out at all points of time when we look at, which sector to go overweight versus underweight. So first, I think is, the clear important part is the earnings upgrade or the earnings downgrade cycle, right? Whether it is, say, IT or telecom or banks, every sector goes through an earnings upgrade and an earnings downgrade cycle. So we essentially look at which part of the cycle are they. For example, we believe IT is bottomed out and clearly is in the beginning of the upgrade cycle. And hence we are significantly overweight IT versus something like a real estate where we believe, pretty much at the top of the cycle. And we believe there is possibility of an earnings downgrade cycle to begin. Now, when we say earnings downgrade, doesn't mean, earnings are going to get downgraded by 20%. It can be 2-3%, but I think a large part of the earnings upgrade cycle is played out. And the second important part is, valuation. So we are very, very mindful of valuation. There are times where some of the companies trade at 70 times, 80 times, 90 times. We really, don't think about how much more juice is left. We will definitely take off the money from the table, from a risk management standpoint. So those are the two things that we really keep in mind when we look at allocations. I think there are a few risks which are always around, and I think one risk is obviously this whole taxation, how it really plans out on the budget, right? Which is, the long-term capital gains tax and so on and so forth. So I think some clarity around that would be very helpful. So that's obviously one risk. I think the other risk, generally, what we generally see is this whole commercial mortgage in US. We have seen some cases where, commercial mortgage in US is corrected meaningfully. And, there can be some NPAs related to that, but obviously that cannot pull down the global markets in a material fashion. But those are risks which are, something that we monitor beyond what you just alluded to, right? Geopolitical, US election, interest rate cycle, right? And I think the last but not the least is what happens with China is also quite important within China in terms of their economic development. So I think the anticipation is that there will be a lot of freebies which will be given. There will be a lot of push on consumption, which will happen in this budget. Our sense is that the government will not, diverge from the fiscal prudence that they have been managing so far. So fiscal prudence will not be compromised. And within, the balance benefit that the government gets from higher taxation revenues that they have seen in the last year and also this year, we believe there will be some benefit that they will like to pass on to, taxpayers. It might not be very meaningful, but yeah, hopefully they should pass on some benefit there. But otherwise, I think we continue to see higher allocation being given to, sectors like defense, rail. I think infrastructure as a category will continue to see a lot of focus from the government. Vision to see, courage to buy, and patience to hold. It's not a one word, it's a one sentence, but I'll go with that. I mean, apart from being a fund manager, I like traveling, so would obviously be in that profession. Wildlife is something which is very close to me, so would definitely look at that option as well. Buy when no one is buying and sell when the whole world wants to buy.